We have to consider the brain having evolved like an old house, where we just added different rooms. And so there's all these stairways and connections.
In the basement is the oldest part, called the brain stem. It's something we share with reptiles and other mammals. It's what keeps us alive, governing vital functions like heart rate, respiration, digestion, and blood pressure. Things that happen without having to think about them.
The next level up, the first floor, more evolved. Hundreds of thousands of years later, it's called the limbic system. And this is very important in the processing of emotions.
Within the limbic system are the amygdala, two nuggets of tissue, one in each half of the brain. They are no bigger than a fingernail, yet they are the brain's central command center for our emotional reactions. One of the simplest and strongest of these is fear, a primal emotion we all share.
If you had to pick one brain region that was most important in fear, it would be the amygdala.
There's no better place to explore how fear affects the brain than here at the Navy SEALs Special Warfare Command in San Diego, California. Recruits are put through specialized training to change the way their brains react to fear.
We introduce our students almost from day one to absolute chaos. And they will struggle. When you look at historic mistakes on the battlefield, they're almost always associated with fear or with panic. So the capacity to control these impulses is extremely important.
Out of 140 candidates who start each class, on average, only 36 make the final cut. Successful recruits seem better able to adapt their brains to the demands of the job.
It's not really necessarily the physical people who get through there. There have been Olympic athletes who've dropped out of training. And there's this 140-pound farm kid from Nebraska who'd never seen the ocean before, and he graduated. Why is that?
To answer that question, the Navy turned to neuroscience. When confronted with fear, it's the amygdala that responds to information from our senses and instinctively presses the body's panic button.
The amygdala is actually one of the most interconnected regions of the brain. So it actually will both send signals to parts of the brainstem that now elicit a range of bodily responses. As you start to sweat, your heart races, you might freeze for a while, you might run away.
This exercise, known as the hooded box drill, is part of the close quarters defense system and is one of the ways the U.S. Navy conditions its recruits to control these amygdala signals.
Our students are deaf and blind. Our instructors will set up a scenario, and then the hood comes off, and the student has to respond.
Well, when you're under that hood, you have just a moment to kind of gather your thoughts and think of scenarios that could come your way.
Sometimes the correct response is swift and lethal. Sometimes it's nonviolent.
Hey man, do you know where the gas station is? My car ran out of gas. Yeah, I think it's going back that way. It is? Yeah. All right, thank you.
It's supposed to simulate those quick snapshot situations, those high-risk situations that just happen in an instant.
They're trying to introduce you to the fact that panic is going to be less and less an option throughout your career.
So the right way to do training is to expose people to scary situations where they can get used to them and know how to react when they're confronted with it.